Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tackling one of the most immense and honestly most fascinating challenges in the modern enterprise right now. Securing agentic AI. Because, everybody is rushing to deploy these incredibly smart, autonomous AI agents. But figuring out how to actually keep them secure, compliant, and operating safely within their boundaries, well, that has proven to be a massive headache. So let's dive right in and uncover the missing puzzle piece that might just solve the whole thing.
Seriously, think about this fundamental question for a second. How do you secure an AI agent if you don't actually know its defined business purpose? This single, completely overlooked question practically haunts current AI security deployments. I mean, if an AI agent starts modifying files, is it acting maliciously or is it literally just doing its job? Without a clearly documented purpose, your security tools are just guessing in the dark.
So here is our agenda for today. First, 1, the sales security framework. Then 2, the missing process layer. 3, data view versus process view. 4, how IPE closes the gap. And finally, 5, putting it into practice. All right, Section 1, the Sales Security Framework, a best-in-class map of AI risks. Back in June 2026, Pillar Security published SAIL 2.0. That stands for the Secure AI Lifecycle Framework, and it was met with huge praise across the industry, and for really good reason. SAIL 2.0 catalogs an impressive 91 distinct risks across 7 different lifecycle phases. Honestly, pity the CISO who has to read that entire document, right? But it is incredibly credible. It maps failure modes across code, pipelines, the cloud, and endpoint zones, and it was built directly with input from Fortune 500 CISOs. It's absolutely one of the most thorough agent security risk catalogs we've seen published to date. But, and there is a huge but here, listen to Pillar's own platform messaging. They describe their runtime guardrails as adaptive because they know what the agent is supposed to do. Despite all its thoroughness, the entire framework relies heavily on one massive assumption, that we actually already know the agent's defined business purpose. The framework just assumes this reference point exists somewhere, waiting to be consumed by the security layer. Which brings us to Section 2, the missing process layer, the recurring ghost in AI security. As we dig deeper into this, we expose a critical structural gap that just keeps appearing across multiple lifecycle phases within SAIL 2.0. Let's look at exactly what this looks like in practice. Take risk 1.11, missing autonomy level classification. SAIL says agents lack a documented tier and suggests we define one in policy, but they offer no method for how to actually do that against a real business process. Or look at risk 2.4, which correctly points out that an AI system lacks specific business purpose documentation. Then there's risk 3.6, highlighting that no one is accountable for oversight. It calls for role definition, but again, with absolutely no structural method. See, SAIL is brilliant at identifying the failure mode, but it offers no structural method to actually fix it. It just uses procedural language like define and document and leaves the how completely blank. And here is the real light bulb moment. Security tools don't solve this. It is a process definition problem. We have to realize this isn't some flaw or defect in SAIL 2.0. SAIL is doing its exact job as a security framework. The issue is that defining what a process is for and who owns it is an upstream business requirement. It's a business process question that security platforms simply aren't built for. I mean, security tools can check the locks on the doors, but they can't tell you who belongs in the building in the first place, right? Moving right along to Section 3, data view versus process view. Tracing data versus defining purpose. Let's explain exactly why our existing really powerful security tools can't just generate this missing context on their own. This brilliantly illustrates the disconnect the current security market operates purely on a data view. They are amazing at asset inventories, permission graphs, taint analysis. Basically, they track where data comes from and where it flows. But that only tells us what an agent can touch. It absolutely does not answer the process view. A data lineage record cannot retroactively tell you a process's business purpose, who the accountable human owner is, what the control limits are, or what a correct output even looks like. Because those aren't data-shaped facts, those are process-shaped facts. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, how IPE closes the gap, the upstream generator of missing data. Because if security tools can't give us this process view, what actually can? Well, I am super enthusiastic to introduce the solution presented in the source material, the Integrated Process Excellence Framework, or IPE. First, let's just briefly establish the credibility behind IPE. It was created by John Kachat, a leader with over 30 years of operational excellence experience across aerospace, automotive, and manufacturing. And the framework itself is actually rooted in foundational work from 1996.
Think about how wild that is for a second. We are literally using 3 decades of rigorous, old-school manufacturing, lean Six Sigma methodology to rein in 2026 autonomous AI agents. And it works perfectly. It treats every single process as something that must be explicitly defined, documented, and controlled.
Now, IPE is a 6-step cycle, but we are going to focus heavily on steps 2 and 3 because they are the exact puzzle pieces we've been missing. Step 2 is to identify key variables and define the process. Step 3 is to develop process worksheets and document the process. Together, these steps produce what's known as a SICOC definition, mapping out the suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers. Think of it as a definitive birth certificate and job description for your AI. This is the exact artifact that answers sales' desperate need for a defined business purpose, measurable inputs, and an accountable process owner, long before any security platform has to start guessing.
And underpinning all of this is a fascinating causal data architecture, KIV, KPV, and KOV. This maps out key input variables, key process variables, and key output variables. So why does this matter to us? Because it creates a measurable baseline. When SAIL 2.0 asks for runtime guardrails that are calibrated to the app's business purpose, well, this architecture is the exact method that produces the definition those guardrails are calibrated against. It literally hands the security tools a reliable, mathematical baseline to check against in real time. Okay, let's make this real. Section 5, putting it into practice, securing an investment research agent. It's always best to ground these theories in reality, so we're going to use a worked example straight from SAIL 2.0's own source material, an agentic investment research platform.
Let's trace the narrative of this specific AI agent. In its unsecured state, SAIL flags it for having no identity policy and no autonomy tier. It is risky, it's undefined. So, we step in and apply IPE Step 2. First, we name the human process owner, the investment technology team. Easy. Next, we map the KIVIN inputs. It's allowed to ingest SC filings and specific market data feeds. Then we define the KOV outputs. It's supposed to generate research memos, comparisons, and approval packages. And because we did that, we get the ultimate security result. We have formally defined the boundary. Now, when the SAIL platform monitors the agent, its runtime controls can actually verify if the behavior matches this exact documented process. Guesswork eliminated.
Now, if you are sitting there thinking, wow, documenting all of this from scratch sounds exhausting, you can take a breath. You absolutely do not have to start from a blank page. IP Services maintains 81 sector-specific IP packs across healthcare, manufacturing, pharma, and way more. These give organizations a massive head start on defining their processes with ready-to-use worksheets, variable mappings, and master KPI tables. So you can skip the busy work and get to the security phase a whole lot faster. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Before you score your security posture, and definitely before you deploy your next expensive set of AI guardrails, ask yourself, has your AI's process been formally defined, and by whom? Because honestly, until you define the process, you just can't truly secure the agent. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into SAIL 2.0 and IPE. Keep asking the tough questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.